Welcome to NeverTheLess podcast with Bidemi Mark-Mordi, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you would learn how to discover your essence and live more powerfully.
Hello and welcome to the NeverTheLess show. My name is Adesha Gregigodaro and it's exciting to come again and share with you what is on our hearts. How was the last episode? It is the month of February. In the month of January, if you probably just stumbled on this episode of the NeverTheLess show, we talked about the regrets. It was a regret series, and so for 4 episodes we kept talking about what regret is, how you can deal with regret, how to not continue the pattern of regret, how to basically bounce back from every form of regret. And I'm excited to be here today once again with my one and only BMM.
Hello, Adesha, and hello everyone. Welcome to the NeverTheLess show.
Alright, this is a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. So if you're listening for the first time, we welcome you. Do not forget that you can follow Bidemi Mark-Mordi on Instagram, Facebook, and of course subscribe to this YouTube channel. Alright, so today it is the month of February. And I'm about to say it's the month of love, but who said February is the month of love?
I have no idea, but I mean, what do I know?
Alright, so this is February, a month that is particularly tagged with love or for love. And we're going to talk about I love you. So we have this whole series for the next 4 weeks where we'll be talking about the word I love you. And no, this is not the kind of I love you that you are used to or that you are expecting, to hear. If you're looking for a new perspective on love, if there's something that you think you need to come into on the idea and concept of love, then this is the show that you should be listening to. All right, so go invite your friends, share the links. We're here to share basically everything on our heart on the subject of love. Today, we're going to be talking about the thing that we have called I love you, but I don't like you. But before we go there, I want to ask BMM, what is love?
Thank you, Adesha. I remember everyone that NeverTheLess is a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. What that simply means is if you're growing, in the things that you've been called to do by yourself, this is the show that should tutor you, train you, mentor you, coach you to the place where you get to be able to run with the things that you have been called to. So the question before I laughed into that was, what is love? There are many definitions of love, but I have this one that I love, absolutely love, and it has become the definition that I have adopted as my definition of love. It wasn't originally mine. I first heard it from my coach, Anna McCoy, and she says that love is contending earnestly for the highest possible good to be made manifest in the present moment. I'll take that again, and perhaps I'll be a tad slower. Love is to contend earnestly for the highest possible good to be made manifest in the present moment. What that means is that when you say you love someone, you are contending. To contend is not eating ice cream. Right. To contend is to put on war gear and fight and go to war on behalf of the one that you love. What are you contending for? You are contending in the life of the one you love that the highest possible good should be made manifest in the present moment. Now, when you hear the expression the highest possible good, it doesn't mean that it is the only good, and it doesn't mean that it is the goodest good. Yes, right. It's not the best good in the situation or that can happen, but in the present moment and in that situation, whatever you contend for has to be the best good that can happen to that person. Wow. And it closes by saying, that definition closes by saying in the present moment. So it means that this is a momentous thing. So moment by moment, if I love you, I will contend earnestly for your highest possible good to be made manifest in that moment. Right. Now what that would mean is that love will look different. Right. My love for you will look different from one season to another season, depending on what I'm contending for. I hope that makes sense. Yes.
Absolutely. And as you were sharing that, I remember there's something they say medically about a doctor he would check the higher risk and the lower risk, and say, oh, because I think I need to make a decision. So love is not an emotion from what you have just defined.
It's action and it's choices, a series of choices over time.
Wow, amazing. I want BMM to share with us a scripture that actually depicts this, because if somebody hears, I love you, but I don't like you, it seems like when we're doing the mathematics, minus plus minus, or minus times minus is plus, or it feels like it's not adding up. How can you love someone but not like the person? And on the receiving end, I need to understand that somebody can love me but not like me. How do I get to understand
I
that?
think that even before we get to scripture, if we look at parenting.
Right.
Parenting, you love your child, but your child is trying to poke his finger in electricity.
Right.
If that goes through, that child could be electrocuted.
Right.
Love compels you to smack the living daylights out of that child because you're trying to save them from themselves and their choices in that moment. In that moment, you love this child, but whatever they're exhibiting character or decision wise is not something you want to be alive to see the repercussion of. So you're saying, I love you, but I love you so much that I am going to hit you. The Bible says it like this: says, he whom the Father loves, he chastises.
Yes.
So when you think about love in that regard, I love you, but I don't like you. At the kernel of this, or the core of this conversation for this episode, is character.
Right.
How do you love people or those in your space who have character defects? Is it possible to love someone in your life who has character defects? That's really the question that we're looking at. Because the truth is, it is hard. It can be hard actually to love someone who is consistently breaking the rules. It is sometimes you find it difficult. It's just difficult to continue to go in the same in the same direction with someone who always tends to act in a manner that makes it almost disgraceful to be in their space. So how do you love someone? You love them. It's not in doubt that you love them, but their character will not allow you to like them in that instant. That's what this is about. Because when we look at the month of February, it's interesting that they say that in the month of February, especially on Valentine's Day, we have the highest rates of suicides. Number one, and then we have the highest rate of highest rate of unwanted pregnancies. That's not love
at all.
If in the day that we've called the day of love, people die more, people take their own lives more, and then in those days people act wickedly, against the ones they claim they love at a higher rate. It means that there's something not wrong. Right with the way that we have looked at love. And so this episode is meant to just help you think it through again. I have someone in my life, I love them to bits, but oh my God, they are a test of everything that patience is in me. What do I do? That's what this is about.
So you're saying now that it is possible, and I don't need to judge myself if I find myself loving somebody but chastising them or dealing with them or leading them in such a way that is not emotional. Because sometimes, and I'm speaking from the angle of my expectation, because sometimes I feel that, oh, this person says they love me. I mean, for those who get into unwanted pregnancies, for example, it's also expectation. They feel that, oh, this other person loves me, and this is how they show their love, or how I can receive,
and how I prove my own love in return. To them.
So how do we ensure that we don't fall? This is unwanted pregnancy now, but there are many other things that are unwanted that we get into because of the misconception of love. How do we ensure that we do not fall into these misconceptions? And how do we ensure that as the ones giving the love, we are not trying to look for some validation that God has already given us?
Okay, so here's what I know, definitions. I am always very hot on definitions. When you define the role of the person in your life properly, you would be able to handle whether, loving them and not liking them in the moment, or just as they should be able to handle your loving them and not liking them in the moment. The moment the definition is wrong, then what's bound to happen is the expectations, the wires of expectations will be crossed, and people would begin to look out for or expect something that does not exist or that is not available to give.
Right.
But when, for instance, you define your definitions, you define who this person is in your life properly, you'll find that when you get there and the person is acting all tough love in that moment, it makes it look like, okay, I know they love me, but they want me to get this.
Right.
If we go back to the example of the child, who wants their 2-year-old child, or let's say 10-year-old child, because you love the child, you give the child the keys to the car, and with no other adult in the car, and say to the car, drive this car to the next street. You don't want to be that person, yes?
Right.
Because that's reckless love. And so there are boundaries and parameters to love. So even when you are proving that you love me, please make sure that you have defined your role in my life properly.
Wow.
And maybe the reason why this is the angle we are coming at this from in this podcast series is because I happen to, by the grace of God, be tutor and governor to a lot of people.
Right.
The first thing I do when someone comes into my life, whether they come to just be around me or to work with me or for me to mentor them, whatever it is I'm doing with people, I always am very careful about the definitions. Who am I in this person's life? Because if I know what it is that God is put me in that person's life to achieve, it will determine what the face of my love towards them would look like. And that is important. But when we don't define these things properly, we keep expecting things that the other person isn't either equipped to give or cannot give, because if they give that love or manifest love for you in that way, it will negate everything else that God has put them in your life to achieve.
Wow, this is amazing. Okay, we've gone some minutes in. We're going to go on a break now. When we come back, I'm going to ask BMM. She has spoken from the angle of the person expecting a kind of love. I'm going to ask her, if I love somebody, I'm the one giving the love now, how do I ensure that I am not the one who is, what's the word? Cruel. I'm not cruel, because I'm supposed to love and I'm supposed to be all nice. So is love niceness is the conversation we're going to be having after this short break. We'll be right back.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life is just simple. Do not worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi Mark-Mordi shares powerful insights and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, NeverTheLess. NeverTheLess is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of NeverTheLess and other books written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, like The Wisdom of the Seed, Honor, The Theology of Work, and so much more from a bookstore nearby, or call 080-905-63555, or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order. I guarantee you will make it. NeverTheLess.
Welcome back to the NeverTheLess show with Bidemi Mark-Mordi. This is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. My name is Adeshawa Greg Godaro, and before we went on that break, we were talking about I love you, but I don't like you, what BMM has called tough love. And she had spoken from the angle of the person expecting a certain kind of manifestation of love. And I said that when we come back, I'm going to ask BMM how a person can give love without feeling bad or without feeling like they are cruel.
Again, the answer centers around welcome back, by the way, but my bad manners, yes. But the answer still centers around definitions. When you know who you are and what you've been called to deposit or to help the other party achieve, and your definition is right, then you don't feel cruel. I remember those days when I was a pastor's wife, and my husband will bend over backward for people. He just wants people to get into Christ and get into Christ for real. So he would, anything people want to achieve or he would give them that room. And I kept saying to him, I don't think that we are quite raising these people right. Because if you are their pastor and you never come to the place of discipline with them, it may mean that we're raising malfunctioning, adult people who will end up becoming believers who malfunction easily. So that definition, I had to say to him, part of our job is to be able to bring out a cane or a whip if that is necessary. So that definition is important. When you define what you have been called to do in the life of a person, it gives you the parameters within which you should express your love. So in those days, when I was the pastor's wife, it became like a good cop, bad cop organization. So my husband was always the good cop, because everything, if somebody just wanted a yes, they'll go to my husband. And then I would now be the one, after he said yes, to come back and say, that's not quite right, you can't say yes to this. And that would mean recalling the decision to the table, and a lot of people didn't quite like me. But I used to say to them, and that's something I want to say today, that I used to say to them that you can be sure that I will not be malicious in the expression of my love. So if I say to you, no, or I say to you, this isn't good enough, or whatever else it is that I'm saying to you in the moment, it is because I'm taking my role in your life seriously. I am your pastor's wife and I'm one of your ministers. I am not necessarily your friend. And people don't like to hear that you can be one thing in their lives and not be the other thing in their lives. They want you to be their friend. And especially when you are someone like me, I tend to be really open with the people that are around me. So I'm open around you because you're around me. I give you access to many things that concern me. Sometimes up to my really private quarters. Does not mean that I'm your friend. People need to understand that. If my definition is your life is to tutor and to govern you, I will give you access to my private chambers. And the reason why I would do that is I am teaching you how to be a certain kind of person. And some of these things can't be taught by words. So you have to act it out. They have to see how you do here. I'll invite someone, come into my kitchen, go do this, let's do this together, let's go here together. And then people will begin to think that makes me their friend. But no, I'm not your friend. And especially, I don't know what they call the generation, they hate me at that point. Because they just think that because they have that access, you have become their friend. Maybe we're millennials. Yes, I don't even know who you people are, honestly. But what I do know is that when I define it properly, it throws people. But I'm the one, because I'm the one that is in the position that is been entrusted with the life and destiny of the other person. I'm the one that needs to be resolute. And so I'm the one that needs to make decisions, execute those decisions, and not go back to second guess myself. The bane of expressing love in this I love you but I don't like you kind of situation is to second guess the decisions that you have made in the highest moment, in the highest the contention for the highest possible good you have made in the moment. Do you understand that? Because through this series we will always come back to that definition. So if I'm supposed to be contending for the highest possible good to be made manifest in the present moment, there are things you really would love that I will have to shut you down on. We've had those conversations and they have to do with social media. And then something had happened and I called you, if you remember, and I said, Adeshewa, log out of Instagram and I don't want to see you there for a number of days. Now, unless you have also defined properly, because I was actually coming to who I am in your life, you would be angry. But and you will think, it's because I have more followers than she does. It is because I have this. It is because I'm more popular. She doesn't want me to be as overly popular, or she doesn't want me to be more popular than she is. That can become a tug and a pull. But I remember that when we had that actually happened. The moment I told you to log out, you said, I have logged out. And I said, okay, so this X number of days you have to stay out of social media and out of circulation. And that was how we dealt with that. That's the way it works. you may not have understood it 100% in that time, and I'm actually going to turn the tables on you because I want to hear why it was easy for you to obey, or if it was easy at all. But I'm sure with benefit of hindsight, because this is going on a couple of years now, I'm sure with benefit of hindsight, you may now see the reason why that was the best decision in that moment that I could take concerning you.
Right.
So let me ask you.
I was hoping you forget.
No, I will. Okay. In that particular incident, why was it easy for you to do what it was that I asked you to do?
So honestly, I have come to realize that. So and we've had those conversations and those things back to back and back to back. I always say to myself, if BMM has gotten to the place she is at, and she's seeing what she's seeing, what are the odds that she's correct or wrong? So just step back and do what she has said. I don't have exactly, so I don't have that. And I should respect the fact that she even could say it. And I remember that we had a conversation one time, and you guys, except you're in BMM circle, you will not really understand. I had to beg her, because BMM is the person that she will just see you and you are doing issues, and you come and tell her, oh, Jesus said I should do this, and she just say, no problem, because in BMM's mind, who is she to stop Jesus in your life? And so I remember that I had said honestly that because I know that I can tend to overdo stuff, I say, please, if I'm going off, just pull me back like this. And so because I have also said that, I should expect anything. I should expect anything. So it's not like maybe because, there are people say, oh, after I came back on social media, I had tons of messages, and I did not respond to one. I didn't respond to one because, first of all, I don't even know what to say. Before you come and in African Palace, globalize my destiny, I didn't know what to say, so I just shoved everything, and you have people saying, oh, then, and I had this, come and do something for us. I said, in this moment, I'm not doing anything. But that's because she has spoken over my life. And I think that this is the point where we need to have that person in our lives that loves us, but does not like us at certain points.
Yes. And now that we talk about it, it also speaks to permission.
Right.
Because that thing I did with you, I don't do it with everybody. Because these are really spiritual things. I wish we could go into the details, but we cannot. These are really spiritual matters. So I don't do that for everybody. There are people I see and I'm like, okay, all right. Okay, this is what Adeshowa is doing. Okay. Then what I do is I rein myself in, because when it splashes, I don't want it to hit me.
Right.
Do you understand that? But the reason why I could call you up and say, you need to do this and you need to do this now, is because you had also given me permission.
Right.
So just because I'm the one who is the tutor and the governor does not mean that I have the right. I would have the right in every situation to contend for your highest possible good in the moment. So there is a place for permission. You give the one that God, because you have to trust the one that you say God has brought over you. Yes. So if you say God has brought this person over you, or God has put this person in your life for a certain reason, and you have defined that reason properly, then you need to, whether verbally or otherwise, give this person permission to say, you can pull me back if you find that I'm going overboard. And that's the biggest thing in marriage. How many of us who are married couples will say that they haven't had a situation where, you love your husband, you love your wife, but they are making a decision that when something hits the fan, oh my God. So you love them, but you stand in that place and you say, I love you, I know you want to do this, I know you have you want to do this with all the integrity in your heart, but this is not going to look good ultimately. So we need to shut it down. The reason why the husband should listen to his wife in that situation is that he had given her permission the day that he says, I will love and honor and all of that, to say to her, by those words of the vow, to say, if I ever begin to tend to go overboard, you can stop me. A lot of families are in trouble today because someone is not listening to the one that God is put there to parameter them in. And this happens even with children, spouses, and in many, many ways. So this is not another series that we put out just because we wanted to trend. I really don't care about whether we trend or not.
Right.
It'll be nice because
Exactly.
we will be able to renew people's minds
yes.
on this matter. But
Yes.
that's not the goal.
Absolutely.
The goal is that these are conversations that we don't have enough. Because everything, once you hear love, people begin to see all kinds of signals. And that has gotten a lot of us in trouble.
Yeah.
And someone will be like, is there something that makes this woman always come from these angles? Yes, because I'm one of those ones who took a lot of knocks. In the name of love, I can't tell you the knocks that I took. And just because I'm someone who would reflect on my experiences, I can tell you that, please, if you love me, make sure there are days that you don't like me enough.
Right.
Because you will save my life.
Right. And so we mustn't have, if everyone in your life, maybe that's where I should pick it up from, if everyone in your life says yes to you, there's a problem.
Oh my God. Nobody's telling you the truth.
Right, and I was actually going to come and ask you about the context of marriage. Because what you just shared is absolutely hot, if I can use that phrase. In the context of marriage, for whether it's the man or it's the woman, I personally believe that when one person makes a wrong decision, everybody suffers for it, right?
Yes.
And so for a spouse, whether it's the wife or but usually the question would have been for the wife. How do I ensure that I'm saying a no and I'm not saying it wrongfully?
Okay, so there is all the whole gamut of what ensures communication, and you would have learned by now, I think I've taught you guys that communication, only 6% of proper communication is spoken.
Right.
The other 94% and thereabout is unspoken communication. Yes.
Yes.
So that includes tone, body language, and all of those things. So in the case of a marriage situation or a couple, the one who is saying no needs to master or needs to learn what tone works for, or even choice of words that work for their spouse.
Right.
So that's one thing that you need to take a look at, and you need to take a look at. But the other thing I want to say, so that I don't lose that train of thought, is track record. I promise you, I have been married 25 going on 26 years now, and here's what it is. I am not the things I say to my husband today once and he follows through, and the things he says to me today once and I follow through, did not always be those things. That there used to be things we would pull teeth about. The first 3 years of our marriage, we would keep saying the same thing over and over and over. You are in your corner, I'm in my corner, he's in his corner, because we both see that this thing, and none of us is budging.
Right.
But over time, by track record, there are things that he wants to do and they're really hot, and he says to me, this is the plan, but I wanted to hear what you think.
Okay.
Though some point last year, unfortunately, they lost a church member, for instance. They lost a church member on I think a Friday or a Saturday, and they had, maybe a Wednesday, and they had planned they were going to have some program in church the following Sunday. And this was not just any church member, this was someone who was in the workforce, someone he could rely on. So he had flyers had gone out, the program has been announced, guest ministers have been spoken to. So the moment he found out that this person had passed, he called me and he said, this is the situation, what should we do? Should we go on with the event or the program, or should we push it back for another week? I said to him, you know what? We need to push it back for 1 week. But when you get there, talk to your team. But I think that we need to push it back for 1 week. And the reason we're pushing it back, because I'm the one who's always very vocal about what happened is happened. Life is for the living. Let's move forward. Do you understand? So my stance usually in those kinds of situations is, go on and do what you need to do. But I am also reading the people, the environment where the church is situated, and the way those people tend to think.
Right.
Not that they are bad people, but you want to give people the comfort that they need within the space of what it is that has happened with them.
Right.
And so he pushed it back by 1 week. The following Sunday comes and this event holds. Oh my God.
Wow.
He came back and he said it was not just a worship because it was supposed to be a worship experience. He said it was a deliverance session.
Wow.
Do you understand that? So even in marriage situations, track record is why I would listen to Mark when he says to me, BMM, I don't think you should do it like that. Track record is also why he would listen to me, because he knows that every time I've said to him, hold off, when he comes back to review it by benefit of hindsight, I give him good counsel.
Wow.
Do you understand
Absolutely.
that? Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so the other part of the question is going to Abigail's story, and turning her back. I don't know if he's turning her back on her wonderful husband that the Bible does not say he's wonderful, and then speaking a certain language to the king.
Yes. When she said to him, she actually stated facts. She said, my husband Nabal is as his name.
Yes.
And wait, so it's your job to go find out what his name was.
Right.
He's foolish like his name says he is, yes? So in that state, it's not that, I mean, she's been married to him. And even on this mission to King David, this is 1 Samuel 25, by the way.
Yeah.
Even on this mission to David, she was trying to save Nabal's hide.
Right.
That's what it was.
Right.
So you don't, in that case, she said, I know him. He's brash and rash, and he has a track record of doing these kinds of things. But you, King David, you don't have this kind of track record.
Right.
Do you want to step in the mud with my husband?
Right.
I agree, I'm married to a foolish man. But you're not a foolish person.
Right.
Do you want to step down to our level? And that was the thing that won the day.
Yeah.
In that instance, somebody would like, oh, today's social media feminist people would like, she did not stand by her husband. I don't know whether it's a feminist or the roots. Oh, she did not stand by her husband.
That's where I actually
really
wanted you to drill.
No. I remember many years ago, I had a friend and they lived not far from us. And one day she called me and said they are moving out. And why were they moving out? The landlord was insufferable.
Wow.
And they lost money in the process because they just had to leave. The landlord was making life unbearable for them. But in everything my friend could have said to me, this was what she said to me. She said, BMM, every time I think about this thing, I think, what does his wife tell him?
Wow. Wow.
So it's powerful when you are in someone's life. You can love them and absolutely love them, and yet don't like them in the moment. And if you don't like them in the moment, tell them you don't like them in the moment. Initially, it will be culturally shocking for them, perhaps.
Yeah.
But after a few times, that they notice that even the moment they say to you, I don't like you, if you are drowning, they jump in and they save you from drowning.
Yeah.
Over time, they come to learn that it's not
that deep.
It's not.
That's our language. It's not that deep.
Exactly.
Right. Because the deal is, and we have stated, love is not emotional. So by the time we start being mushy about everything and gummy about everything, we don't get the exact thing that we must get from the relationships that God brings to us.
Yes, because beyond all these feely things, there are deeper and bigger things that God puts people in our lives for.
So you see, really, this is it's a good time in the year for you to begin to reevaluate your relationships. Don't say we've not done anything for you this year. That's how we say it in millennial language.
We love you enough to tell you we don't like you right now. So let's take a look at that again.
All right. Yes. So we've had this conversation of I love you but I don't like you, and we've spoken about definitions.
Yes.
So you define, the person who is giving the love must define, and the person receiving the love must define.
And the person receiving must give permission for the other person to be able to stand in their place and do what they are called to do. And ultimately, track record matters when people begin to decipher who people are in their lives and why they should listen and take correction, for instance, especially when it has to do with their character.
Wow. I think that we've had an amazing conversation, if we say so ourselves.
Yes, considering.
All right, so thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. My name is Adeshawa Gregi Godaro, and
my name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. Remember that I always say to you that when you discover who you are in God, then you can live powerful. embrace your superpower, because there's so much ahead of you that God wants you to become. God bless you.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to Nevertheless. For more information and resources, call 080-90563-555. Don't forget, discovering your purpose helps you live more powerfully.